Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, that's how you wake up Jehovah Witnesses. You love them. Because we used to be them.
Hard heretics, if you love someone, you let them go. If you hate someone, you let them go because they're annoying. So no matter if you love people or hate people or are frustrated with people, let them go and you will be happy. If you are one of my 144,000 subscribers, you know that I'm Goatlike personality from Norway. I used to be a very happy Jehovah Witness, then I became an angry apostate, and now I'm a happy apostate and happier than I ever was when I was a Jehovah Witness. And the reason why I'm making this channel is because a lot of people, they get stuck in anger and they try not to be angry, and when they try not to be angry, they think about the reason why they should be angry, and then obviously they get more angry because whatever you focus on grow. And some people say, I'm gonna move on, I'm not gonna talk about it. You cannot deny the fact that you used to be a Jehovah Witness. I can use him as an example. If I want to be goat-like and be a goat and see the world from his perspective, I can't do it. You see, they have the rectangular eyes, they have different smelling thing. Have you seen a goat do the porn face like this? It's because they can smell genitals up here. We don't have that. The point is, I can never be a goat. But I could maybe turn into a goat, and if I turned into a goat, I would still not be a goat. I would be a goat that used to be a human being. So no matter how worldly I become, I will still be a worldly person that used to be a Jehovah Witness. And when you accept that, then you feel happier. So I believe that whatever happened to us when we grew up in the cult of Jehovah Witnesses was wrong. We were told that we were sinners, that we were bad, that we needed to be fixed, and that we should seek approval at an imaginary friend, and whatever we did was wrong, and the only way to be happy was to do things that benefits an American printing company called Watchtower. So you try to do good, you fail, you hate yourself, and you think, maybe I should do something that's good to Watchtower. Then you try again, you fail, you hate yourself, then you try to do something good for Watchtower. So moving on is actually interesting because it's not that difficult. If you love someone, you let them go. If they are annoying, you let them go because they're annoying. So normally I have a lot of protests outside Jehovah Witness convention. And these are my signs. European Convention of Human Rights. Because Jehovah Witnesses, they are basically like a dysfunctional family. They are uncomfortable with honest conflict. So in a dysfunctional family, they will kind of keep things quiet, not talk about it. And the person who talks about something is often identified with the problem. So if you talk about uncle's drinking problem, well, they're not angry at uncle, they will be angry at you. And the same when Jehovah Witnesses have a problem with child abuse and someone talk about it, that person will be called an apostate and he will be described as the problem, not brother pedophile, because he repented. We must trust him and we must smooth things over. So in a dysfunctional family, they have an appearance of loyalty, an appearance of happiness, an appearance of everything is good, but in fact it's just smooth things over. And you get this fake happiness. I remember my uncle had a drinking problem and he was one of Jehovah Witnesses. So the solution was to publicly shame him in the congregation. It's called marking, to solve his drinking problem. It didn't work. And it made Jehovah Witnesses look bad. So we decided that he is no longer a Jehovah Witness. So then the next time he was drunk in public, we could say, he is not our brother. He is one of you. We decided that he's a worldly person. He's your problem. Well, that's how Jehovah Witnesses do. And when we know that, and if we love them, the Jehovah Witnesses, and we want to say something nice to them, we basically know what to do. Because they can't handle honest conflict. They get uncomfortable. And talking to Jehovah Witnesses is like talking to my wife. I have some interesting things to say, but if I know that if I say this, she will say that, and I say this, and she will say that, well, if I know that, why do I do it? Like, I really like my wife, and when I like someone, I shake them. And the more I shook her, the angrier she got. So I thought I had to shake her more. But in the end, I realized she don't like shaking. And it's kind of the same with Jehovah Witnesses. We know what they like and we know what they don't like. One of the most common questions I get is how to wake up Jehovah Witnesses. Well, the answer is don't. Because the more you push something, the more they push back. Jehovah Witnesses are like goats, you know? You can't chase them. They must come to you. And when they think it's enough, they will leave. So I had a lot of protest, and if you see my protest, this picture here from England, it's a picture, you see the signs? They're very peaceful. And everyone that wants to read the sign, they can just go and buy an ice cream, because the queue for the ice cream stand, then they have an excuse to read the sign. And back at me now, look at this is the sign. European Convention of Human Rights. It's not even a statement. So when I'm standing among Jehovah Witnesses with my signs, they feel happy, they feel respected, because as we know, they are uncomfortable with critical thinking, and they're uncomfortable with any conflict. But when you just point at something you can agree with, they feel good. I still refer to them as brothers and sisters, and actually I get a lot of messages of people that say that I woke them up. Not because I had some smart thing to say, but because I'm genuinely nice to them. Why would I leave a cult and be angry? Well, I'm glad you asked. It's a very good question. When you're suppressed, you suppress your feelings, and then at one point you no longer suppress them. Then you're angry. Believe me, I've been angry. But we don't want to get stuck in the anger. We want to enjoy this paradise. Bobina, come here. Look, with a nice little dog. I might not have a pet wolf, but I have a pet domesticated wolf. We can have a paradise right now. And we can wake up Jehovah Witnesses if they want to wake up. But if you're a Jehovah Witness and you go to the convention, you feel the love, you feel that there's a difference between the world of Satan and our loving congregation. While in fact, the apostates standing outside, waving, smiling, are as loving and as happy. I would say even more happy. So if you want to protest because you really need to get out your aggression, that's maybe not a good idea. Sometimes people come up, I have this saying, this scripture, and they read the scripture and they will realize that, everything in my life is wrong, I'm going to change. Not how it works. If you show Jehovah Witnesses a scripture, there are many, if you show Jehovah Witnesses a scripture that prove the religion wrong, they will just close their mind and feel persecuted, and they are miserable, and we are miserable, and everyone's miserable. It's much better to wave and say, if you want to be Jehovah Witness, you should. That's your human right. But, as the flip sign on my sign says, Article 9, freedom of thought, conscience and religion, if someone approach me, I show this. Everyone has the right for freedom of thought, conscience and religion. This right includes freedom to change his religion, belief and freedom. And then Jehovah Witnesses will say, well, we allow you to change your religion, but there will be consequences. That's not how freedom works. If I say that you're allowed to vote for my candidate, but there will be consequences if you don't, well, then there's no freedom. In democracy, freedom of election means I can vote for any party I want with no consequences. And if someone wants to leave Jehovah Witnesses, there should be no consequences. My sign here, the UN Convention on the Right of the Child, there's a shitload of violation from the Watchtower Society. So I was planning a lot of protests this year. However, my worldly woman and me started a breeding program to make more worldly people. And so I have to man up and stay home and fix my farm. You've seen my paradise. I show you what I'm gonna do. I'll tell you some wise things afterwards. Just show the farm, Goshan. This is the farm I bought when I woke up from the indoctrination. I paid cash, so you can imagine how crappy this house was when I could afford it, paid cash after pioneering for 10 years. But I still have the same job as I always have. I clean windows in the city every second week, and every second week I do apostasy and farming. So the money I make on window cleaning, I lose on farming, so you get balance in the accounting. However, now with the baby on the way, I need to finish some project. I will show you, it's fun. I'm very proud of this house because I worked hard to get it, but it's a crappy house. It was all I could afford after pioneering. But even though I'm building an add-down now for the baby, there still might be a protest in London, and I will tell you about it. However, I just want to show you, imagine that 2/3 of this house has a basement and 1/3 does not have a basement. It doesn't even have a foundation. It was just down on the ground. So 1/3 of the house were lifted by the frost hives, while the other one was not. So imagine all the windows were crushed. So I'm actually changing the foundation while I'm building a new. Come and see her. This is the part with the basement, and the frost cannot go under it to freeze and lift it. However, this part here doesn't have any foundation. It's just this stone laying on this stone and that stone laying on the ground. So this part of the house used to be lifted 10 centimeters, and can you imagine what happened to this window when that wall is lifted while this wall is not? Do you think you can fill me under here? If you walk down here? I have to be nice to her because she has this big worldly belly. That's how you make more worldly people. So I don't know if you can see me here, but this roof here, it's only 1 inch of wood. So there's no insulation. So I'm actually digging out under the house now and making new foundation, one section at a time, because there's a baby coming and babies need warm house. And then we're making the nursery, my office, into a nursery. So I have to move my YouTube studio to the new thing. I can show you that, it's fun. The reason why I'm a happy apostate is because I moved on 90%. The next 10% I'm not going to move on, because there's a lot of work to do to safeguard children that grow up like we did. Politicians don't know how it is to grow up in a cult, but we do. So who's going to talk up for the children? Here I am, send me, send me. So when I say that Jehovah Witnesses lost their government funding in Norway because they violate human rights, it doesn't mean Jehovah Witnesses are illegal. It just means they get a gentle nudge to stop violating human rights, and they will get their government funding back. But you think, what about the Mormons? Does not the Mormons and other religion violate human rights? Well, the Mormons are smart. They never ask for government funding because, after all, the government is Satan. So why should we accept the dirty money from the government when we can get 10% of everything every Mormon make? And this way the government don't look at what we're doing, because we don't ask them for funding. The Mormons don't ask the government for funding. However, they ask 10-year-old children to give them 10% of their allowance and then 10% of their salary until the day they're dead. So that's a significant amount of money. And what Mormons have, they have something called worthiness interview. So there's an external person that say if you're worthy or not. And believe me, you're not. So imagine you're an 8-year-old Mormon girl, you believe that Sky Daddy is real, and you have to be sitting with a grown man that asks you a question about masturbation, and he finds out you're not worthy. However,
He reminds you of your duty to pay 10%, so you think, I'll pay 10%. Basically, they hijack your sexuality. Now we're working on changing legislation in Norway. I take credit for it. I have nothing to do with it. We're just pushing. That's how lobbyism works. But we changed the legislation so that you cannot interrogate children about their sexuality. Can you imagine that? It will be a crime. Jehovah Witnesses will probably still do it. I think the Mormon might stop because they have better business sense than Jehovah Witnesses. And they're not as religious as Jehovah Witnesses, actually. They're more a smart business organization. However, can you imagine if we get the legislation through? That no priest can sit down with a young Jehovah Witness child and ask them about their sexuality? Huh? That's how we move on. We move on from the cult, but pretending that it never happened doesn't make it better. We spend the 10% that we're still in the cult to protect the children, and that makes me happy. So this is my old office, go into nursery, and this is my new YouTube office. It was just an empty space here. I show you this clip. This is how the empty space used to look like, and it wasn't really child friendly with this. You see this football here? Poof. That's how it used to look. So now I made myself a YouTube studio here. It's the smallest one. So actually Jehovah Witnesses like this kind of studio. You know, the members should have this studio. Look at this guy. He's so happy with his studio.
All right, here's a chair. Let's see, we'll get that for you. And you can take a seat. And oh, before you do so, can you grab the door? Yeah. Cozy, isn't it?
How do you get anything done in here, man?
Yeah, I mean, it's really convenient. I mean, everything's at arm's reach. It works, it's good.
And then you look at this guy. He's so happy with his studio. There's some kind of difference between the higher ranked Jehovah Witnesses and the small, lower ranked Jehovah Witnesses. Because just like the Mormons, the owner of the Mormonism, Joseph Smith, the prophet, he had 40 wives and didn't really cohabitate with them. So when he was married to 14-year-old girls, he didn't live with them. He just had marriage with them, which we would refer to as sex with a child. So that's the standard for a Mormon prophet, while an 8-year-old Mormon kid has to ask about question why he's masturbating if he's doing that. There's different standards. Anyway, I go with the Jehovah Witness standard for this office, and the next time you see me, can you please go a little bit in? This will be behind me at the studio. I will not have a green screen. What should I put here? Should it be a picture of Jehovah or Rutherford? Let me know what would be the perfect background for a YouTube video. Anyway, I promised you to tell you about the protest in London because we have a good working relationship with the people who own the arena. We've done it before, and we put these big signs on these banners here, and the witnesses see it, and there are no confrontational, so the witnesses see it, they read it. A lot of Jehovah Witnesses would take pictures of me, and a few of them came up and spoke to me, and then they walk like this because they're nervous. But they walked up to me and said, I saw you earlier and I spoke to you and I thought you were an idiot, but you were nice to me, you were loving to me, and you referred to me as your brother, as your sister, and that's why I went home and did the research. And ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, that's how you wake up Jehovah Witnesses. You love them because we used to be them. When we try to control them, we get frustrated. And when we get frustrated, we get angry. And then we start thinking about, why am I angry? And then we think about all the legit reason why we're angry, and we get more angry. But when you love someone, you let them go. If you hate someone, you also let them go. And then, just like the goats, they might come to you. So, there might be a protest in London. Let me know if you would like to go there. and maybe you can support me with signs, because I'm in Norway, so we might have to buy new signs in London. But that's a good idea, because we're not giving up, and the signs are made in a way that they are very general, and we can use them over and over and over again, because the battle is not won. So please let me know, and I hope you are among my 144,000 subscribers, because this will be fun. See you in paradise.